Luke Combs just released his 4th LP, Gettin Old, and let's talk about it. Yes, Luke Combs, who has innumerable number ones at radio, who's now touring stadiums on a world tour, has just released Gettin Old, and as I predicted, it is the other half of his face and a companion to his album last year, Growin Up. Whereas that one had him standing in front of a bar, this one has him standing in front of a house. And I think those are very representative of the tones of the two albums. Together, they make a project called Growin Up and Gettin Old, which is a song that's actually here on this album. This one is 18 songs long versus that one's 12 songs. Together, they make a 30-song collection. And I must say, this LP is exactly what I wanted Luke Combs to do. I've been wanting a switch up from Luke, and he totally did it here. Now, I'm filming this on a Monday. I've been listening to this album all weekend, but I'm about to travel for the next week, and so I will say this. This might not be as composed as a normal video, but I wanted to give you my thoughts, my first impressions on this album, because there's so much to talk about and so many good songs to mention. If I had to do a word cloud for this album, I'd say words like open, subdued, bluegrassy in parts, country, I'd say storytelling, I'd say sensitive. It is not an album of Beer Never Broke My Heart or Me on You over and over and over again. This is not your bar banger Luke Combs album. This really is, much like the cover suggests, more about reflection and home, and it is a bit more down home in its sound. And while I'm sure there are some people that are going to say,
man, I miss when every song just punched you in the face with a big kind of rock undertone,
I think it is an incredibly welcome change, and one that will serve the longevity of Luke Combs' career. I thought it was interesting seeing Luke on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he started that interview saying his worst fear is to make the same album over and over again. And when I heard him say that a few weeks ago, I was like, but you know that's the main criticism people lobby against you, is that you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I think he was due for just a different tone, and this album delivers on that. Just like the last album, this one is produced by Jonathan Singleton, Chip Matthews, and Luke Combs himself, but there's some different sides to it as well. Number one, there is, for the first time in Luke Combs' career, some outside cuts on this album. He didn't write every single song, or at least co-write every single song. He has some written by other people, and some of them are standouts. One of them is a cover of Tracy Chapman's Fast Car, and man, I just gotta say, it's one of those covers that actually is just so great. One of the best feelings is when you hear a cover and it kind of just opens your mind to a song and makes you actually listen to the words in a way that you haven't before. And I've heard Fast Car so many times, but I don't think I've ever followed along with the story of Fast Car until just kind of hearing it with fresh ears, and Luke sounds awesome on it. And I think he's covered that since way back in the Vine days.
You got a fast car, now I wanna take it to anywhere. Maybe we make a deal, maybe together we can get somewhere.
Another one of the standouts, Where the Wild Things Are, was written by Randy Montana and Dave Turnbull.
Now where the wild things are.
And this is a beautiful Western motorcycle song about his brother riding an Indian Scout motorcycle all through the West. And you get images of J45s and Airstream trailers. And he's remembering riding out west with his brother. He calls themselves Iron Horse Rebels, kissing blondes in backyard pools in the Hollywood Hills. But then the song ends tragically, where the brother kind of hits a guardrail going too fast, and they bury him out where the wild things are. Such a different vibe than anything we've heard Luke do before. It's got a sort of depressingness about it, rather than the kind of hopeful, plucky, good attitude that a lot of Luke Combs songs, even stuff like Even Though I'm Leaving, can include. And I just think it tells a real story. It's so country, it's so cool. I kind of think this song almost feels like a bit more of a mainstream version of Zach Bryan's Motorcycle Drive-By, another song kind of inspired by a motorcycle accident. I feel like there is some connective tissue there.
It's a motorcycle drive-by, baby, dry congas. I think it's about.
Another one of my favorites on the album is called Back 40 Back.
Walls of the world are closing in, spreading city, spreads us thin.
Pound for pound, this is one of the prettiest songs I've heard this year. Someone in my DMs was saying, that song just does everything you want it to do melodically, and I so agree. This is a simple kind of nostalgia song about watching the world develop as much as it is, and cities spreading everywhere, and wishing that he could have his back 40 back, like the back 40 acres on his property that he hadn't sold him away and let them turn into kind of a concrete monstrosity. I think the pre-chorus has some of the best vocabulary I've heard in a while. He says, you know, there's asphalt parking where that 10-pew Pentecostal stood, fast food 4 lanes, and a subdivided neighborhood. I gotta give a shout out to the alliteration on fast food 4 lanes, and I gotta do a good word alert on subdivided neighborhood. You know, I haven't done a good word alert in a while, but it deserves one. But then you just fall into that chorus where it's like, the walls of the world are closing in, the spreading city spreads us thin. Spreading city spreads us thin, like we're, I don't know what, cream cheese on a bagel.
What do you mean by that?
What a good line. It's just a thoughtfully written song, so pretty. And it's worth mentioning that Luke delivers these vocals in a much prettier fashion than normal. They're not yelled at you. It's a much more sung album, much more kind of, yeah, chill. There's a part of me that wishes that this had just been released along with Growin Up. Like, I feel like the project makes sense when it's together. Like, you see the bar side of him in front of a bar, the kind of louder rockin' bangers, and then you see the sensitive side of him that's thinking about family and land and like, I guess, getting old. And when you put them together, you get like a better, it just makes the project make more sense. I feel like they would have enhanced each other rather than these kind of, I mean, now maybe I can think of them as one project, but they were at least like a year apart. So here I am after, you know, years of saying, I don't want these 30-song albums, being like, maybe this should have been a 30-song album. If I contradict myself, so be it. That's not to say the album's devoid of bangers. I feel like Hannah Ford Road really rocks out. I think You Found Yours is such a catchy melody, and it just feels summery and loud and so catchy. That whole part of that song where he's like, when you found that kind of feeling, baby, you found yours.
When you feel that kind of feeling, yeah, you found yours.
It reminds me of, a bunch of people mentioned this to me as well, Summer Nights by Rascal Flatts. Get that igloo cooler, paradise.
Let that igloo cooler mark your piece of paradise.
That's similar, and then it's also from Drive Me Crazy by Britney Spears. Baby, thinking of you keeps me up all night. It's the same kind of like intervals there. But both those songs are very sing-alongable, and so is You Found Yours. And of course, there's also Fox in the Hen House, which rocks out, but with like funk. Like, there's a little bit of organ in that song that takes it in a different direction. That's what I mean where I say this album is just much more musical than what I think I've heard from Luke in the past. I can hear every instrument a lot better. To me, there's a lot more soul in it, and I do not think that this is going to kind of compete with the hip-hoppy side of things that like Morgan does, and there's a subset of country fans that can only think of some of the top artists like Luke and Zach and Morgan as in competition with each other. But this is going to be a quieter and smaller album. It's still going to be massive. It's going to be like everything else in its path other than Morgan. But I think it will pay off in the long run because these are songs that will age well along with him. Okay, I want to talk about 3 other songs that really stood out to me. 2 are near the end. One of them is Tattoo on a Sunburn.
Every time that summer breeze blows in, I find myself a
I like this song because it's so literal. I was fully expecting a song called Tattoo on a Sunburn to be a metaphor for pain, like, ow, it hurts to get a tattoo on a sunburn. And it is that, yes. But it's also literally about him getting a tattoo. He's young and in love in the summer, and he seeing this girl, she's like, get my name tattooed on you, and he does, and it hurts, but he's so in love. But now the thing that hurts more is that, you know, he's got this mark on him, and that all ended. There's something really beautiful about the song, like the story of the song is about a tattoo on a sunburn, and the metaphor is also a tattoo on a sunburn. Sometimes songs set you up with a hypothetical if-then statement where it's like, I don't know what, if you were whiskey, then girl, you'd be top shelf. And I'm like, okay, but she's not whiskey. So to me, it's like, cool, that's an image, but it's not that powerful. To me, this song is made more powerful by the fact that the refrain is built into the actual storyline of the song. I also find 5-Leaf Clover to be a gorgeous track.
I know I'm a lucky man, but
The strings in the beginning and the kind of beat in 6 make it feel so Celtic in a way. and obviously it's about a 5-leaf clover. He's saying that he's kind of an unlucky guy. I've talked a lot about how Luke is really good at being relatable in that way. Things are never going so well for him. And the refrain of this song is, how'd a guy like me who'd be fine with 3 end up with a 5-leaf clover? He's like, dude, I'm not even the type of guy that would get a 4-leaf clover, but in this woman that I have found, like, I feel like I found a 5-leaf clover. She's even better than the best thing that someone like me could imagine. So you have this clover image, which kind of evokes St. Patrick's Day, Ireland, and you have this kind of Irish feeling, Celtic-y song, and I just think that's so cool. But then I also think the lyric is so sweet on it. But probably my overall favorite song on the whole album has to be See Me Now, which feels like a spiritual follow-up to Even Though I'm Leaving.
We'd be trashing the price of gas and politicians.
This song is about either a father or a father figure, maybe it's about a grandfather, and Luke just longing for him to see the person that he's developing into and growing into, and kind of imagining what they would say and do if he could walk into the kitchen right now and talk to him. He says, if you walked in, pulled up a chair in the kitchen, poured a little something for sipping, and said, tell me about everything I've been missing, we'd be trashing the price of gas and politicians, put a hurtin' on an old Gibson, and I could tell you about the life I've been living. I'd like to think you'd be the proudest guy in town. If I could see you, see me now. And there's all sorts of country imagery of mama's cornbread and a cast iron skillet and the land. And, you know, it's not the most crazy out there lyrics, but the way it's delivered is so pretty. And man, it's got this kind of 90s country feel to it, almost like Brad Paisley in his prime, that beautiful post-chorus music that comes in is just a vibe. I think this song is so gorgeous. It's so easy for anyone to relate to because everyone's lost someone that they're close to and miss. And yeah, a stunner. Overall, I really like this album. I could go through all the other songs, but I'm really out of time. And like I said, I'm traveling this week. There are parts of it that I think drag a little more, and some songs that I'm just like, those are fine. I don't think I'll revisit them all the time. And maybe it is missing a little bit of the energy of that first half of this record. As a project now, I fully understand Growin Up and Gettin Old. If I had to only choose one of the albums, I love the country vibes and open production on Gettin Old a lot more, and think I will be revisiting this album a lot more. And I would give it overall, like, I think I gave the first half like a 6 out of 10, and this one's more like a 7.5, 8 out of 10. So, and together I feel like they'd be almost like an 8.5 out of 10. So, cool to see Luke Combs really spread his wings production-wise and do different stuff. I would love to know your thoughts, your favorite songs on the album, and that's it. I know this is a short one, but that's all I got for you. Let me know what you guys think. Bye!